a biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
And now with all the breaking news out of Israel and the Middle East, we are joined by Mandy Worby. And Mandy, Yahya Sinwar is dead.
This is actually pretty big news, and most of our listeners would already know this, but last Wednesday, the succeeding leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, was killed in Rafah in southern Gaza. Remember Rafah, that all the world said you're not allowed to go into, and they said, oh, no, he's not there, he's not. Yeah, that's exactly where he was. And we have learned that the reason that he was actually above ground instead of hunkered down hiding in the tunnels, which he's done all this last year, was because of Israel's systematic destruction of that terror tunnel system. The concern has always been that he'd surrounded himself with dozens of hostages, but running out of hot tunnels to hide in, he moved above ground, disguised by wrapping his head up like terrorists do, and ended up in an abandoned house. And the IDF literally drove him out of the ground. And it was actually, interesting enough, it was a young, fairly green IDF officer who found him with a surveillance drone, and he was killed and then later identified as Yahya Sinwar.
And just to remind our listeners, the previous leader of Hamas was also assassinated by Israel recently, so not a good time to be the leader of Hamas now, Mandy.
Ismail Haniyeh, I'll get his name right, was actually in Iran when he was taken out by a short-range rocket, so it wasn't even an incoming from Israel. And as we know, all of the Hezbollah leaders are gone, all of the other Hamas leaders are gone, except for the couple that are hiding in opulence in Qatar. The message is there's nowhere you can go where Israel won't get you. So, anyway, Yahya Sinwar's gone.
Yeah, well, Israel make good friends and terrible enemies. So also, have any of the hostages now been released since Yahya's death? Yeah,
no, not yet. There are still 101 hostages in Gaza. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu released a statement stating that now that Sinwar was gone, he made a direct message to the people of Gaza that this would be a great opportunity for them to finally be free from the boot of Hamas that's been crushing their necks for the last 20 years, and that the war would be over literally the next day if Hamas laid down its weapons, surrendered, and released all of the hostages. He also gave all the Gazans, and basically speaking to those who actually had the hostages, that if you release the hostages, there would be no consequences to them. And then Daniel Birnbaum, he is the former CEO of SodaStream Company. He said that he would give $100,000 to any Gazan who returns living Israeli hostages. The offer lasts until Wednesday, so that's today. But you keep in mind Israel's 7 hours behind us, so really this deadline lasts until about 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, our time. So far, no hostages released, but that, anything could happen. Now, there is a concern. It is not a confirmed concern, but it is a concern that Sinwar may have given a directive stating that the hostages must be killed if anything happens to him. Again, it's not confirmed, but it is a concern.
Yeah, well, speaking of concerns, there's also concerns that there's being leaked details to Iran about Israel's response to missile attacks from Iran.
Yeah, this is not a new problem. It's been ongoing. Israel's known about it. We've all known about it, but it all gets hush-hushed. The US was very unhappy that Israel didn't inform them of their plans to take out Hassan Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah. But Israel's learned the hard way, as I said, that when they provide information to this US administration, somehow these details end up being given to their enemies. And it's like their enemies always get a step ahead of them. And it's been a massive hindrance to Israel. So Israel didn't want Nasrallah to get tipped off. So after Iran's second massive 200 missile attack on Israel, Israel said that it was going to respond and it would be deadly and surprising. So in this instance, Israel did share details with the US. Well, we think they shared details. And lo and behold, that information was leaked. And the Iranian regime actually published it on the internet. So the UN administration is denying the leak, but this morning I saw a headline and a photo in the New York Post saying, quote, top Iranian Pentagon aide keeps security clearance despite spying for Tehran accusation. And I also read a letter sent to the administration signed by 4 different senators listing in detail the many, many security concerns about this particular aid. And her name is Ariane Tabatabai. I think that's how you say it. And she serves as Chief of Staff to the Assistant Secretary of Defence for Special Operations and Low-Intensity Conflict, which is too big a name for anybody. But the abbreviation of that is SOLIC. And so the administration is saying that this lady isn't under investigation, but there is a lot of concern that she did leak the details. What is highly likely now is that whatever decision Israel determines to make in the coming weeks and months of this conflict, it is very doubtful that she's going to share them with the US, or at least nothing of any great import. Even former President Trump said that no one can blame Israel for not sharing intel with the US anymore. Now, just to backtrack on what I suggested before, it is possible, just possible, and I can't confirm this, but Israel may have known that the US would leak the information and that they provided a decoy plan, and that would do 2 things. If this is true, only a big if, it would provide 2 things. It would ensure Israel's plan remain confidential and unknown to her enemies, and 2, it would prove yet again that the US has been a little too enthusiastic about betraying their ally and that they're untrustworthy. So Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has called for a full investigation about the leak. So watch this space on that count.
Yeah, absolutely. And a failed assassination attempt of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah. Hezbollah admitted that they fired a drone at the private residence of Netanyahu, his family, which is in Caesarea Maritima. And it caused just a small amount of damage to one of the outer walls of the house and some palm trees. Iran's saying that they did not instruct Hezbollah to do that, but Hezbollah doesn't do anything without the mullahs telling them what to do. Now, this didn't deter Mr. Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, or his government. They said that there will be a response, but at a time of their choosing and convenience. So Iran's kind of bracing itself there. Oh, and happy birthday to Prime Minister Netanyahu. He's just turned 75 a couple of days ago as well.
And he's looking good for his age.
He's doing well.
But circling back to Hezbollah, so the previous leader of Hezbollah, who's also been assassinated, they've realised now that his bunker was under a hospital and it contained millions of dollars inside.
Yeah, this is shocking. So on Monday, the IDF spokesman, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, he's revealed that the former Hezbollah leader, you said it, Hassan Nasrallah, had a bunker in Dahieh, I think that's how you say it, it's in southern Lebanon, built underneath the Al-Sahel hospital. So the bunker itself was under the hospital and on both sides of it. That's a war crime, Andrew, because hiding terror activities under, beside or in a civilian building of any kind, that's going to make that building a legitimate target for war, and that puts civilians directly in harm's way. International law says that war prohibits attacks on civilian infrastructure, and the International Committee for Red Cross website says, but that said, a hospital or school may become a legitimate military target if it contributes to specific military operations of the enemy and if its destruction offers a definite military advantage for the attacking side. So when they put hospitals in the direct line of military, consequence, it's Hezbollah's fault, it's Hamas's fault, and they do it all the time.
But isn't it sad, Mandy, that the utter disregard for human life these terror groups have, that they will deliberately put military bases under civilian hospitals and schools?
And the thing is, this bunker was the central money warehouse. The vast majority of that money, I might add, has been stolen from Lebanese citizens, used for terrorism. It's estimated that the money in the bunker amounted to $500 million. That's with a B. $500 million in cash and gold.
Yeah, it's
outrageous.
Just crazy. It's almost like they're willing Israel to bomb those facilities too, so they cause more civilian casualties. It's just so sad for the innocent civilians who get caught up in this. And also there's been some spying in Israel for people working on behalf of Iran. It's
shocking. People will do anything for money. Apparently there are 7 Jewish Israelis, I believe, that have been arrested for spying on behalf of Iran. I find that hard to fathom, but I don't know what the motivation for spying for Iran is. That hasn't been released. But many nations have had this when their own citizens have betrayed them. But also 7 Arab Israelis from East Jerusalem were also arrested, spying on behalf of Iran, providing information on Israeli military bases, also attempting to murder a nuclear professor and a mayor in a large city in central Israel. That's the 5th case in over 2 months, and it's the 2nd in 2 days. So right at the moment, Israel is having to fight strategically against its enemies from without and also from within.
Yeah, their backs are definitely up against the wall.
Yeah.
And also stopping the transfer of Iranian weapons into Lebanon via Syria.
Yeah, because that's been the primary conduit to get weapons into Hezbollah's hands. So what Israel did was, there's a border crossing in the Bekaa governorate, on the Masnaa road between Syria and Lebanon, this border crossing. And Iran has been using this to funnel weapons to Hezbollah for a while. So the IDF basically blew the curry out of this road. It's now inaccessible. And so no weapons are going to get through there. Let's not forget that Israel has been dismantling most of the leadership, crippling their communications capabilities, their tunnel systems, their supply lines. Just yesterday, and I saw this video this morning, a spokesman for Hezbollah was holding a press conference saying that the terror group is quote-unquote invincible. And as he began to speak, the IDF issued a warning that a strike was imminent right there. So all the press quickly went, while he was talking, grabbed all their microphones and they all ran away. So that's how invincible they are.
Yeah, well, it's like Goebbels in World War II, the Nazi propaganda minister. He was saying things like that up until the very end as well. But it looks like the facts are contradicting the messaging that's coming out, that's for sure. But Mandy, it's such a fluid situation. There's so much going on. I'm just wondering now what's going to be the news next Wednesday when we catch up again. But what can we all do right now, Mandy?
The most important thing, Andrew, is that we pray. We've got to pray. You and I can't be over there doing goodness knows what we could be doing. Okay, I'm not a military strategist. I can't give advice to the government, but I can get on my knees and I can pray. I can pray according to God's word. And that's what I'm doing. I've got an alarm that goes off in my phone every single morning that reminds me to pray. Every time I put my dog tag on and my little yellow ribbon badge, every single morning it reminds me to pray for the hostages in Israel. And that's what I do every day. And the Bible instructs us to do that. But can I just say that, yes, we need to pray, but I want to give just a bit of good news, very encouraging. Jews for Jesus and some other Messianic Jewish groups and Christian groups over in Israel have been talking about how there is this massive growing interest amongst the Jewish community toward Jesus. And the reason? Christians are standing with them. They're going there and supporting them. They're praying for them and they're encouraging them. And they are shocked to their core. And there is one Orthodox rabbi who actually ordered a stack of New Testament Bibles, read through Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and came away saying, I love Jesus, because he got to see what Jesus really was like and that he was not some rabid anti-Semite that taught his people to hate and condemn the Jews. And he actually said, I would rather the Jews believe in Jesus than be secular. So we've got an opportunity to pray for our Jewish brothers and sisters to whom we owe so much.
Yeah, it sounds like God's really moving there, Mandy. It's
Very
so
much.
encouraging. Well, Mandy Worby, as always, so informative, so much going on. But I want to thank you for joining us again on 2020 Today.
My pleasure.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.